Well, hello, folks. I'm L.A. Little, and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. When we take a look at these markets, we do it from a neoclassical perspective each time, asking ourselves just the one question, and that is, what happened today? What does it tell us about the coming ones? Do this show 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, broadcast at before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's archived on YouTube. It's under the channel, L.A. Little. If you haven't subscribed, do. Each time I push content, you'll get notifications. An easy way to keep up with what's going on. It's free and easy. As far as what these markets did, let's take a look at the numbers here. Looks like we got pretty much red across the board. These are numbers coming in tonight. A little bit of a pickup there, but overnight it was red. Nothing big, just slight pullback pretty much everywhere. Russell was down 1%, and gold commodities were hit pretty good. Outside of that, not that much. It's all about the dollar right now, folks. In terms of emerging markets, overseas markets, commodity markets, it's the dollar. And you had a pullback today. The dollar is not even to its highs yet, and the dollar is starting to cause some problems elsewhere. And at some point, it will cause problems to equities as well. But right now, that's not the issue because it's not at the highs, and it won't cause issues until it gets there. But you are seeing it affect emerging markets. You're seeing it affect, the other commodities pretty much across the board. And so if I pop into some of these, like if I go to the emerging markets, for example, you can see the pullback yesterday, a little bit of a continuation today. Again, nothing major yet, but folks, this has just came back up to try to do a bearish retest, regenerate. Now it's trying to roll back over as a result of what's happening with Yellen and the Fed, and the idea that they really are going to raise some rates this time. And you can see it elsewhere. If we look at the gold market, for example, you see the continuation there. That's doing a full bullish retest regen on this time frame. If you look on the weekly time frame, it had done a full bearish retest regen, is now trying to roll over. So that's still not out of the woods. We were saying that back when that was the case. If you look at just the continuous commodity ETF, which is kind of a measure of everything, this thing can't get off the floor, and it's starting to come back in already again. The other thing you're seeing is the bonds get hit. They're getting hit off the notion that rates are going to rise. And, believe it or not, the Fed's telling us that's going to happen. I know they've told us that many times, but there's some peculiarities about this particular report that actually made me think the equities were going to sell off yesterday, as they tried to early. But by the end of the day, equities had bounced back, but these other instruments are starting to feel the heat. Bonds breaks swing point low today. It's going after another one. If you look at it on a weekly, this one's trying to roll back over again as it comes back up into this big bar's high. The big volume bar here, as it gets up into it, it starts to roll back over. If it gets back underneath it, it's going to try to go after what will be a swing point low and break it on the way back down. So commodities, bonds, they're all telling us the same story, and that is that we do believe the Fed is in fact going to raise rates. Is that good news? Well, so far the market thinks it's good news because they are not willing to give anything back. So if I go back over to our friendly markets, here we go. S&P 500, let's start with that one. Now, the S&P actually did an over-under tonight. And so you go over, back under. I don't know if I can call it a 2-bar. Maybe you can call it a 2-bar. It's there's been enough little rest along the way to kind of keep me from saying it's a 2-bar. A 2-bar is more like something here where you go straight like that, right? This is a little bit more of a sideways, a little bit better of an angle. And so up here you had the 2 bars and you got the pullback, but here, actually I think we had the 2-bar on this bar. That was the only one. It tried to go up the next day and eventually gave us a little pullback. Outside of that, this is kind of just an over-under, and it's by itself. Nobody else did it. So you go over, you go back under, and that says next bar should be sideways to down. If we look at the NASDAQ, though, right, broad composite, there you have nothing of the sort, a little bit of a pullback inside day bar, so nothing there, not telling you anything. NDX, same thing, right? Almost hits the highs. Yesterday was 46.78, misses it by 38 cents. Less volume, hanging at the highs. We've seen this plenty of times, right? Hanging at the highs. How many times have I said that? And then the Russell. Now the Russell pulls back. Russell, I believe, had some good short covering yesterday. Pulls back. It's coming back to do an immediate retest regen bullish off that breakout. So, this will give us a clue on the way back whether it holds or not, right? That's the sort of thing that we need another clue on something, because right now all the clues are pointing north. There's almost nothing to point to the southern side, and that's despite, the huge run-up that we've seen. If we skip over and look at the world markets, we actually had the German market go over back under, but it's really not an over-under because you actually had more volume. So you get over it and back under it, but you have more volume. That says, hey, you can test it again tomorrow. If you look at the CAC itself was inside. Actually not inside, it actually pushed down with more volume. So the CAC is actually trying to tell us the opposite. 48.40, let me see what that number is, 48.41, and no, it didn't get under it. So it didn't get under the big bar, it just almost got to it. So that's kind of another just sideways hanging. I haven't looked at the FTSE in a while. This should be getting hit pretty good given all the commodity issues. It's hanging in there pretty well, actually. So that doesn't look so bad. But where you do see problems, like we said at the top of the board at top of the show, is in anything commodity related or emerging market. Like here's the all ordinaries. It's turning around or heading back down again and coming back with some fairly wide price spread. The Sensex doing the same, right? Brazil got its own set of problems, but Brazil doing the same thing, coming back down fairly fast. Toronto should be probably rolling over a little bit. It's actually hanging in there pretty good as well. Hong Kong was down last night. Nothing big, but coming back. So just, creeping back down. So all these overseas markets really trying to roll back over like we talked about at the beginning of the week that we probably would see. Nikkei tonight will be a big one because you got the Bank of Japan tonight. And depending on what they do, what they say, are they going to follow the Europeans and the Chinese with more easing of some sort? Or are they going to talk about it, right? Or are they going to lay it out there and say, if we have to, we're going to ease more? If so, they're going to drive the yen down, drive this price back up again. If not, this is probably going to be under pressure because the yen will rise. So that's the biggest thing overnight. Will set the tone, at least in that market. If we're looking for other clues, though, right now we've got an index that's an over-under S&P. Inside days elsewhere, Russell pulls back, but the Russell's been pulling back. But if we go and look at the sectors, you actually do have some over-unders in these sectors. IBB goes over back under a little bit less volume. The XLE did the same, although the energies have been weak for a long time. They continue to show the same sort of behavior. So they go over, back under, a little less volume. Financials, surprisingly enough, they were so strong yesterday off the Fed. They do a little doji over-under at the top, just like the S&P 500. And finally, if we look at the industrials did it. Now, one thing that's the opposite, so the point here is that you do have some sector support for the notion that you're getting pretty stretched here and that you may get some sort of a pullback. If we go to a different signal, and that is on the weekly with the discretionaries, these break out tonight. You get over price. You let me see if you have the volume. You got 31.5, and it's probably going to have the volume. It's going to be right about the same by tomorrow. And so if it stays over it, you're going to have a breakout on the weekly, and that's going to be the second trend transition on the weekly away from bearish. Remember, we talk about, you got to get 2 or 3, usually 3, before the rest of them will try to follow. Well, this will be number 2 if it prints that way. And so where we at tonight, about where we've been, and that is that we've got a very sticky price point. Anytime you get any kind of pullback, the buyers just jump on it. They've been rewarded over and over and over since the bottom. They've had a huge run to the north this month, and there doesn't seem to be any stopping them at this point. Tomorrow's the last day of the month. Maybe you might see some profit taking tomorrow, who knows. But right now, the bulls are in control. There's some slight evidence of maybe we might see some sort of a creeping pullback tomorrow. But right now, folks, after what this market has done, I think you got to think that until you really see some failures out here, you just got to keep leaning to the long side, because that's the way it's running. And last thing here. Remember we talked about, let me bring up I want to show you one more thing here, because tomorrow is Friday, right? If we look at the S&P 500, what would it take for those bearish retest regens to actually fail? So if we look on the weeklies, and let's grab the S&P, what it would take would be get back under these bars. These here. So the top of that one's 2072.40. This one's 2077.85. You're sitting at 2089. So you got to drop quite a few points. 12. It's possible. I mean, this could drop. If it drops 15 points tomorrow, then you're going to have a failed attempt to get over the bearish retest regen, and then that would be back on the table. But right now, the way this market acts, getting 15 points back off this market, it seems like a pipe dream, doesn't it? That's it for tonight. Have a great one. I'll see you on Sunday, where I do the weekly show. And if you haven't tuned in yet, do it. We take a look at a little bit longer term time frame, looking at the weeklies, looking at the monthlies, looking at the big picture a little bit more so than we do here on a nightly basis. Have yourself a great one. If you will, tell a friend, tell two. You're on YouTube, hit those friendlies down there, right? Send a LinkedIn, or send a Facebook, or whatever you want to send. Make it a little bit more viral and get some more folks over here. I'd appreciate it. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next time. Good night.